Hello, welcome to Tech and Sci with an Asian guy. I'm Sea Dogs. Now, I have a lot of different content planned, and I'm going to also make it up as I go. One of my favorite games from my childhood as being a 12 or 13-year-old, now being in my mid 30s, was Final Fantasy IX. It was the first Final Fantasy ever recommended to me because it had a simple battle system, it had a decent enough story, and it had enemies that were easier to defeat than some other RPGs out there, so it was right up my alley. It's not a perfect game, but it definitely has a special place in my heart. So I want to do a little bit of a playthrough as some of my first emerging content coming out here. So without further ado, let's get into it a little. So we meet our main character to kind of find the middle of the room. I have to change the controls a little bit, but I'll do that in a little bit. I prefer A or X as my select button. So now we meet Zidane and some of the troop here. Get a feel for just some basic characters part of the troop. There's the boss. Now, hopefully the background music and volume isn't too loud. I want to try to minimize any potential copyright claims here as we move through. Very simple and intro battle system at the start here. I'm a big attacker. Honestly, I don't try to heal unless I have to. Even just as a... I do use it as a little bit of a preventative measure, but this is a good start. Just getting a feel for how the characters move. It's been years since I played it. I beat this a few different times, but this is a very good time to get back into gaming and streaming in general. So again, welcome to my channel. Eventually, when I get to the main screens and have the ability to pull up the menu and everything, hopefully I can coordinate that so I can change my confirm button or open door button. It's currently B and I prefer it to be A, but things happen. Now, since these games had text bubbles, you may find that I don't pronounce some of the names right. Sometimes there wasn't a reference point like you got in Final Fantasy X to tell you how to say something like Spira. Whereas in this, you wouldn't really know if it's Tantalus or Tantalus, Zidane. I mean, you get a feel from talking to other Final Fantasy players, but you don't always have that. Sometimes you operate a little bit in a vacuum. We're not kidnapping Braun. I definitely selected the wrong one there. Just gonna get right into this. We're gonna skip the movie for now. I'm gonna get into gameplay and kind of moving around, minimize any copyright infringements or claims as I can. Now we do see Vivi here, or I think maybe his name is pronounced Vivi. I'm going to say Vivi. Sorry. It just is what it is. Very awkward character. Very important character for in terms of character development for both Vivi and Zidane, actually. I changed the configs. Exit out of Okay, sorry, this is taking a little longer. I don't have that exact button in my controller. There we go. Sorry that took so long. Oh, he does have a ticket. Oh, but it was a fake. I remember that now. We get a couple cards. We haven't been introduced to the card game yet, but not gonna lie, not really good with the cards. I definitely like to set the text bubbles to read it, to scroll as quickly as possible. I'm pretty sure I have to run back into Puck again, but that may take a little while. Now, these early Final Fantasy games did not always give you a clear sense like Final Fantasy X did with a map to give you an idea of where you need to go next, so sometimes it takes a little bit of searching. Well, this is exactly where I need to be. Oh, that's mean. Being so mean to BB here. That's blame for dropping that sign. Get out of here. There we go. We got Puck here. I think you have to follow along even though this is not super important. Well, sometimes you don't know if the coast is, if the coast is clear. I didn't remember exactly what the right option there was. Oh, it's dangerous. You go first. Okay. Of course. Jerk. There's a Moogle. They are our save points. You can buy items from them, use tents to restore your MP and HP. Great. You can also run them favors and stuff like that, run different mail. but your Moogles are going to be your best friend, and when you run into one, you definitely know you ran into a save point, which is definitely a great feature in this game. Now, sometimes in certain games, now I played Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 2, 13, a little bit of 12, never got past the first 5, 7 hours. One of the things that I was really good at is not dying. So Final Fantasy 7, I definitely have never died. Final Fantasy 9 was my first one. Died 3 or 4 times. Maybe even closer to 10 if you count Gizmaluke's Grotto. So we'll get to that. Not super easy. I didn't know exactly how much to grind. I just thought it was going to be just super apparent in an RPG how much you needed to level up. And dying sometimes, I will say, while it wasn't something that I preferred to do, it was something that had to happen. You sometimes need to have that gauge between your strength and the enemy's strength for upcoming battles. The plight of the random battle. So, Vivi. Definitely right about Puck's name. Just need to follow and get out of here. And see exactly where he went. Trying to do a little bit of narration and following the game isn't super easy, but I know it's a little boring up front, but this is such a wonderful game that it deserves sometimes our full attention to get from point A to point B. Super impressed by the graphics for a PS1 game, honestly. They still, even though Final Fantasy VII was kind of the ringer in terms of being the first with those graphics, with the CGI and having some sort of 3D character, this at the time was very impressive. Super impressed by Final Fantasy X too, 10 as well, for the original PS2 release, and it blew me away. But this was special, especially for its release roughly in give or take 1999. So I must have played around 2001. Just a few years after its release. So not too bad. So I think we're just going to kind of play to the first save point. I don't want to make this too long. We're at about 15 minutes elapsed. And we get our first glimpse at the sad look on Princess Garnet's face here. Now, they never fully explained, I think, why the mother looks like that, but it wasn't as important. Their character development as Queen Braun and the relationship between her and her daughter Garnet was elucidated. You get a feel for what type of relationship that they had. And the relationship is more important than what they look like. At least in my opinion. Now, we already know Tantalus is looking to kidnap Princess Garnet. And you're going to hear me say Garnet a lot. And maybe I got that from Kevin, the basketball player. But sometimes, when you have text bubbles, you pronounce things the way that seem natural to you, even though sometimes that's the logic of a 13-year-old. Now, quick aside, this actually reminds me a little bit. I was never in any plays in the theater or anything, but one of my favorites was Macbeth that we saw in put on as a high school in my first year as a freshman. And I definitely appreciated, while I didn't enjoy reading it at the time, I appreciate the repetitive themes of blood and things like that, the symbolism, So this also had kind of a special place in my heart too. With Tantalus kind of, at least at the beginning, kind of taking the front role in the action so far. Oh, we're gonna get some special effects here, I think. I'm not gonna do any damage, but we're gonna have a good time doing this at the very least. Now, the one thing I will mention is I'm not good at sequences and entering like things like Tifa's, limit break or things like that. I'm just very happy that that doesn't happen in this game. Oh, here we go. I'd rather... I know we got some special effects here, but... We're gonna cast it back. Maybe we can bring this to a close. I don't think there's a penalty for Senna passing out, but no sense in not. Oh, we have to do a little sequence. Now, this is the part that I'm not very good at, the sequence part. Well, there's no reason to redo this. It doesn't matter if Queen Braun approves or anything like that, as long as it's not horrific. I always forget what controls these are on the controller. Hey, I landed 60%. Hey, that's good enough. I guess that is a way to earn a little bit of money up front, but it's okay. So if I set this to the fastest that the text can scroll at, I still have to hit Enter or A on my controller, so I'm going to kind of figure that out on the fly. My Enter button, of course, on my Razer keyboard is in fact a little quieter, but you still have to hit it to advance it faster than the text scrolls. So I don't know which is going to be less annoying over time here. Now when I was playing by myself and not streaming or making videos or anything, I always pressed A and it's just natural function. But we'll see which one. I would say probably pressing enter. It's going to be the key here. Now I think we are getting closer to a save point. We have Zorn and Thorn being kind of the court jesters for Queen Braun here. Kind of evil, but you know what? It is what it is. You gotta have enemies. Now the reason why I'm thinking about making this into more of a 20 to 35 minute segment here is just so it's digestible, easily uploaded to YouTube, not terribly long. I'm looking for my first content to be interesting, you know, nostalgic, not necessarily long. But this is what happens in RPGs. Sometimes getting to that first save point takes a while. Oh, there's Beatrix, one of my favorite characters across Final Fantasies. Now I've kind of drawn her and her kind of overcoat that she's got going on as a knight. She's a very impressive knight. She's a little scary at first, but I really like her as a character. I think she has a very interesting kind of loyalty to her that is, quite frankly, just very impressive as compared to our main, side character here, Steiner, who joins our party here for the vast majority of the game. Steiner's very uptight, very concerned about following his duty, but he asked a very important question, like all of us have to ask sometimes. What is our duty? What should I really be doing? And essentially asking, what's the right thing to do? Now we've hit our first save point here. I'm going to kind of cut this short at about 25 minutes. I have some other save blocks here. I want to kind of section off like 10 to be this specific game's file. So this is where I'm going to cut it. Thanks so much for joining me, and appreciate you tuning in. Have a great night, guys.